because we were off and on. Many people know our story, high school.
A lot of times people don't hear your side or hear you.
Growing up, we grew up together. We knew so much about each other that it was like we did not want to wait long to get married.
Mad?
I said it a little spicy.
Your face
No.
got red.
Yes.
And you said, "This is who I am." Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Sam.
I am been wanting to do something like this for a while now, and for those that are listening and joining in, Kelly and I have been wanting to get in front of a camera and share our story, share our life, our journey. We have taken a very unconventional route, and we just thought it'd be fitting to talk more about us and our lifestyle and church and ministry and leadership and parenting. But let's share our story. So for those who don't know me, I'm Sam. I'm a pastor in Chino, in the Chino Valley. I'm 31. And that's me. So Kel, go ahead and share who you are.
My name is Kelly. I get the privilege, Sam and I both get to pastor this amazing community called Coin, alongside just doing life, raising children. We have 3 girls that keep life busy. We're always in the hustle and the bustle of life, but still trying to maintain and be intentional and love and fight for all the things, marriage, family, and everything in between.
Yeah, and we have a special guest today.
This
she
is
may be
Chloe.
with us every week for right now.
Every week, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. So, Kel, tell me your story right when we started to be very serious about...
From my lens.
Yeah, from your lens.
Okay.
About just when we started getting serious about dating and then marriage.
Yeah.
A couple of years. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I mean, getting serious, we started very intentional when we were in college. Because we were off and on. Many people know our story, high school, like the high school years go, a little off and on, learning and growing in the process, but intentionally we fully committed in our college years of pursuing a relationship and actually pursuing a relationship not for the purpose of, I just want to hang out and get to know. It's like, we're actually doing this for the sake of marriage. And if you're in, you're in. I remember you having a conversation with me at the very beginning because you were in Bible school and you're like, hey, I just want to put this before you. Like, I'm called to be in ministry, whatever capacity this looks like. If you're not, let me know. And for me, that was a very eye-opening question because I was not raised in the church.
Yeah.
We often say like language of, I was a CEO Christian, right? Christmas, Easter only in my upbringing. But there was always that woo of God in my life to go deeper and leaning into what that was. So when this question was put before me, the deepening was already becoming and undoing in my life of allowing God to fully transform what that looked like. So this question was like a no-brainer for me. It's like, yeah, absolutely, all in. It was unknown.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that looked like because I had not been in that world, in that understanding, but no-brainer. And then from that, I think catapulted our relationship in a way that is really beautiful and a lot of learning along the way. And then that was probably, we were intentionally dating, for a year?
Yeah, about a good year.
About a year. And then you proposed right around my birthday in June. And then we were growing up, we grew up together. We knew so much about each other that it was like we did not want to wait long to get married.
Yeah.
So 6 months after engagement, I had my break from school, my winter break. I was a junior in college. And we planned the wedding during that break intentionally. We got married December 20th. And then kickstart of marriage. From that point on, we were married and...
Yeah, we're coming on 10 years.
10 years, that's crazy.
Being married.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But it's good. Best 10 years.
So this has been a very risky, unconventional, different route that we've taken.
Yeah.
So not only have we, we got married young.
Yes. I was 20, you were 21.
I was 21. And, that's just different already.
Yeah.
We didn't have much to our name financially. We were both still in college.
Yeah.
And it was a promise that I made to your mom that we were going to finish school.
Yes.
Promise I made to my dad, hey, we're going to finish school.
Yes.
And we did.
Yes.
But with this unconventional route of ministry, how have you felt being a part of that journey? So knowing like, okay, my husband is called to be a pastor. Like, did you have any idea of what that would look like for you, and like the dream or the journey, or was it just like blind faith, let's just do it? And then I guess, what have you learned through that?
I think in the very beginning, it was like, okay, I'm in. Like I said, I had no understanding. I just knew what I saw from the experience of watching other people do it, right? And watching other people be in it. And from that, I was just like, you know what? Like, if this is the life that like God is calling me to, I'm in it, but I have a lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
I have a lot of growing to do, and a lot of it, and even still to this day, there's things that like God is still working in me and I'm trying to unravel, just from like childhood, like my identity, purpose, and things like that that I've had to wrestle through in the process, that I think being in ministry, it confronts you head on with when you're with people.
Yeah.
And I remember even when we were high school pastors, there were relationships with girls in the ministry that I'm like, oh my gosh, you're challenging me to really understand what God is actually saying in this area of my life as I'm walking with you. And I think those were the things.
What's an example of that?
I always talk about this with my mom, that I was growing up. There's kids that are strong-willed kids, and then there's kids that are just a little bit more easygoing and agreeable, and that definitely was me growing up. I was much more soft-spoken, tender, gentle-hearted, in the sense of like just easy breezy. And so when we did high school ministry, when we were youth pastors, there were girls in the high school ministry that were strong and bold and like, I'm just going to tell you how I say it. And I had to learn early how the concept that you and I talk about, to have thick skin but a humble heart, and learning how to navigate with those relationships and not let my heart get hardened, realizing people are still people are still growing.
Yeah.
And what does it look like to still love in the process and not allow myself to get jaded? I mean, scripture says like not to let a bitterness take root. And for that reason, because so much more unravels from that. And I think we were just talking about this last night. In ministry, you see sometimes the hardest part of people's life.
Yeah.
But you also see the most beautiful part. And I think that was the thing that surprised me the most, is you go through the hardship with people and you see the callousness or like the brokenness of like the things they've gone through.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that at face value until you do life at a deeper level. And that's what I learned with the girls, is like, oh my gosh, they're just looking for someone to listen. But the immediate experience I got was maybe harshness at the time, but it's because when you look deeper underneath the lid, there was so much more going on in their lives, that it's just, are you willing to fight through to get to know them because God really wants to know them, and not let yourself get in the way? Because oftentimes I would allow myself sometimes to get in the way, and I had to learn not to get in my own way and allow God to be able to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think aside from ministry, thick skin, humble heart, we've heard that from a lot of different mentors, just people out in the public space, pastorally, leadership.
Yeah.
And I don't think we really knew what that meant until we had to experience it for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think it starts in marriage. You have to have thick skin and a humble heart.
Yes.
And thick skin not meaning I'm cutting you out, or I'm going to harden myself around you. It's just being able to hear hard things.
Yeah.
And I think in marriage, in relationships, in friendships, if you're not able to hear hard things, then you're fragile, you know? And that goes back to identity.
Yeah.
And so you said you were kind of getting in the way of you,
Absolutely.
right? With these students.
Absolutely.
And I think that's like a great story for our life, just life in general.
Yeah.
We get in the way of us a lot of times. So there's an issue in marriage, there's an issue in relationship, in the church with somebody, and it's always you did something wrong, but what about me?
Yeah.
What's God trying to say to me?
Yeah.
And I think you can pick that and place that in marriage.
Almost most places.
Yeah, you can pick that and place that in, relationships with friends.
Yeah.
Or your boss, coworkers. oftentimes we get so upset with the other person, but it's like, well, what is going on in me that provoked that? And so I guess, for you in ministry, and I think this is important because a lot of times people don't hear your side or see your perspective or hear you. And that's because in your season of life, like you have the little babies, and you
It's
have
fun and wild, but good.
sacrificially chosen that route.
Yeah.
And, I'd love for people to hear that and to know about that. So for you though, what has thick skin, humble heart meant in ministry with people? And are you fully there yet?
I feel like honestly that's something that like I'm constantly like, putting at the feet of Jesus and saying like there's still more that I can learn. There's a saying that's always stuck with me that it's, if you feel you've arrived, go back to square one, because we're obviously not fully arrived until we're sitting face to face with Jesus in that moment. There's so much more that we can do to continue to be on our journey to become more like Christ, right? So there's definitely things that I continually am learning and still growing. But in ministry, I think the first thing I had to learn to deal with getting out of my way was my confidence. Like, where am I putting my confidence at? I was so consumed with wanting to be a certain way because I saw it done this way, or oh my gosh, they're a powerhouse here, like I like how she's doing that, and comparison quickly crept in. And something that I have learned is that when God's trying to call you somewhere, right? You have a call in your life, immediately I feel like you're met with those things.
Sure. Yeah.
Those tensions. So unraveling what it looked like to not allow comparison to lead and be in the front seat, and allowing my mind to be renewed, to be shifted, to be transformed. Okay, what does actually God say about this? And why are you comparing? What are things that you're seeing that maybe needs to open your eyes a little bit more, that you could grow in and not necessarily compare in, but that you could maybe learn from? And I think for a while I was so laser focused that I wasn't almost willing to grow. We've had this conversation. This is just how I am. And it's like, I never want to say that. I never want to say that again.
Can you tell us that story?
Absolutely.
I don't think you need to name names, but
No. I think we were engaged at this point, and we had some really close friends we did life with. And I remember, I think I said something, or I did something that offended one of them. And you and me in conversation with them,
we sat down.
Even when we sat down and I went to like, I'm going to apologize. Like, I did not want to do that. Like I said, raised very like gentle and sometimes unaware of the things that I was saying. Cause I was like, oh, everyone's just going to take it this way. Like, that's how I see it. Not realizing there's a bigger picture, even in how I respond and act. And in the apology, I was like, I'm so sorry. This is just who I am. And
you didn't say it like that,
this
babe.
is just how I'm, and I didn't
no,
say it like
you were
that.
mad.
I said it a little
your
spicy.
Your face got red.
Yes.
And you said, this is who I am.
This is who I am. And it was very like, yeah, I don't even want to go back to that, because I'm like, but yeah, I was very stubborn. I was very like, pride immediately crept in. And it was something that I didn't realize was such a big issue until I had to confront it. And in relationship, you even told me, did you realize you did that? And I was like, well, this is it. Like, I don't understand. Like, I said sorry. And there was a working through that even like I was blinded to in my own life, that had to be peered into and was uncomfortable, because then I had to admit, oh man, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man, I actually have to not ever say this again, because that's not a great place to be, because then you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think because we wanna honor our time.
Yes.
In people's time. So these talks are going to be very quick. Hopefully to the point. If not, that's okay. It's just letting people into our lives.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we can take away from today, or maybe someone that's listening to us, is that we're always growing.
Always.
We should force ourselves to not get comfortable.
Don't get stuck.
There is a journey of unexpected roads ahead. And the more that we lean on God and lean on faith and take risk, God will take you through beautiful valleys and beautiful mountaintops, beautiful heights. But in marriage and relationship and ministry, because our story is very unique we're in ministry, and I'm a full-time pastor, and it's taken years to get there, but it's always felt full-time.
Yeah.
But we just want to encourage someone, and maybe if it's just us, that hey, we got to keep growing, and we got to keep maturing, and we got to focus on the prize, and that's Jesus. And along the way, he will refine and mature and develop us. So yeah, thank you for sitting, and thank you for Chloe for being so kind with no wild interruptions. She's just been chilling there. And I'll see you hopefully next week. Hopefully we could do this every week.
Absolutely.
Just depending on schedule and time and our little ones. I'm grateful for you, Kel, and I'm excited for people to just hear our story about culture and lifestyle, raising a family, and being in ministry. Love you.
Love it. Love you.